Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zollotech, and this past week Apple updated Apple Wallet. There's also updated information about iOS 16 as recent as yesterday, and then we're also expecting Apple's AR or VR headset maybe to make an appearance at WWDC. We'll talk about all of that and more in this week's news update, and this is your news update for the week of May 30th, 2022. Now, the first thing is, if you're an Apple employee in the United States, they've increased the minimum wage to $22 per hour. This is not a state thing, but rather an Apple thing where they've just increased it for all employees. So anyone that's starting out is going to get a bump up to $22 per hour, according to Apple. Now, if you're using Apple Wallet, I mentioned this earlier this week, there's a new Apple account card. We saw this in iOS 15.5 within the code, and it's now live. Now, this seems to be just in the United States, but if you change your region around the world to the United States, you can see it, and typically you'll need to have some sort of iTunes balance in order for it to show up. But you can see it says pay with your iPhone in Apple stores, online, or buy app subscriptions and other services. So you can use this here on your phone or in an Apple store just like you would with your Apple Pay or anything else with the Apple Wallet card or the Apple physical card. This just takes the place of that, and I expect they have more for this in the future. Now, also within the wallet, if we go back and press the plus button in the upper right, and within Apple Wallet, you can see driver's license or state ID. Within state ID, we now have a new state of Maryland. Now, others had said that maybe Mississippi would be showing up soon, but this is completely up to your state to work with Apple to add this into Apple Wallet. You go into Maryland, and then you can add your physical driver's license here if you want to. This is not something you have to do, but rather just an option if you don't want to carry it with you all the time. Now it will be recognized by Maryland as your physical ID. So that's something that they've updated, and you can try it out now if you haven't already. As far as additional states, like I said, they have to work with Apple, and there's no timeline for when we could see updated states or countries or different provinces or anything else. So we're waiting for all of that. Within Apple Maps, there's been an update as well, in Tokyo specifically. And within Tokyo, there's now augmented reality walking directions. We've seen this in other states where maybe you're getting directions from one place to another that's close enough to walk. It will show you using the camera where you need to walk with augmented reality. So that's been updated in Tokyo and hopefully additional cities later on. Now, Apple this past week introduced new Pride watch faces and Pride watch bands. So you can see here Pride threads, that's in the Apple Watch face gallery here, and there's two different versions. So you have sort of a dark mode and a light mode, and then along with this, they also introduced new watch bands. So if we go into the Apple Store, within the Apple Store, you can see threads of Pride, and there's sort of a light mode and dark mode version, Pride Edition Nike Solo Loop and Pride Edition Sport Loop. Those are both $49 and available now, but were introduced this past week. Now, a senator last week introduced a revised version of the American Choice and Innovation Act. This would affect Apple in making side-loading apps something Apple has to allow. I've talked about this in the past with the European Union trying to push this, and it looks like many other governments are trying to do the same. So Apple has responded to this, saying that mandating such side-loading apps would undermine the privacy and security protections that users of iPhones depend on. So this is something we may see in the future, but it looks like more and more governments are pushing Apple to open up their phone to allow sideloading of apps and additional app stores. Many of you have expressed concern about privacy as well, and again, I'd love to hear what you have to say in the comments below about that. Now, if you use Safari on a Mac, there's a new version if you wanted to try it out, a Safari technology preview that has over 140 performance enhancements and bug fixes. So this should be a major update that we get very soon. Usually it rolls out with new macOS updates, but that's something that has a huge amount of fixes in it. So hopefully we see that very soon in macOS. 140 is an awful lot of changes, and performance would be great to see enhanced as well. While Apple discontinued the iPod Touch a couple weeks ago, it was still live on their website for some time. This is a 5th generation with the little thing here where you can attach a lanyard and use this as a camera. This is something that was discontinued and has now been completely removed from Apple's website. So it's no longer there, and it looks like the iPod is done 100%. So like I said last week, this is my 4th generation iPod, the click wheel iPod, or sort of click wheel. It's more of a touch wheel. and this was my first Apple product that wasn't a Mac. So this is something that's been completely discontinued. Of course, it changed eventually to the Touch, and now it's gone overall. But it's not even on the website anymore, and they seem to be getting quite a bit of money on eBay and other places as well now. Apple updated their developer app this past week to get ready for WWDC 2022 that's just a week away. You can see it says swiftly approaching, has more information, and as the keynote starts, which is next Monday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, after that there'll be more and more information in here about everything going on with the latest updates, such as iOS 16 and more. And so this will be updated regularly, and also developers who will be attending WWDC apparently will also get to tour some of the campus while they're there. So according to Macrumors, developers will be able to check into the Apple Park Visitor Center at 7 a.m., and from there Apple will hold an open house at the new Apple Developer Center, which we really don't know a whole lot about. And then at 8 a.m., Apple will serve breakfast at Cafe Max, and then there'll be a keynote at 10 a.m. Pacific time, or 1 p.m. Eastern, like I said. After that, they'll eat lunch, and then the platform State of the Union will kick off, and that's something that you'll see here as well. You can watch as far as developers and learn more about iOS and what they're doing with that, more about the programming and developer side of that. Then after that, there'll be a tour of Apple Park Hills, the fitness center area, Cafe Max, and maybe even more. So that will be limited, and then there'll also be Apple Design Awards. So a lot going on next Monday, and if you're attending there, it'll be great to be able to tour all that if you're there. If you're there, I'd love to hear from you, and I'd love to hear from you after you visit that and check it out as well. Last week, Apple released tvOS 15.5.1 and HomePodOS 15.5.1. This was to fix bugs and a problem that would cause music to stop playing. So those were introduced, but there was no iOS 15.5.1. Apple stopped signing iOS 15.4.1 a previous week or so ago, and now we expect iOS 15.5.1. Usually when they release them for tvOS and HomePodOS, we'll see them for iPhone and iPad as well. Maybe it wasn't ready. Many people said that they expected it to be released, and so we could see it as soon as tomorrow. Now, today in the United States is Memorial Day, honoring those who have served and fallen in the United States military. So we wouldn't have anything today usually. We'll have something tomorrow or Wednesday. So if we'll see 15.5.1 tomorrow, maybe we'll see iOS 15.6 Beta 2 on Wednesday, or it could be reversed, or at this point, Apple may not release 15.5.1. We just don't know at this point, but it seems very likely. So those things are what I would expect as far as iOS releases this week, along with macOS updates, iPadOS updates, and more. And of course, as soon as they come out, I'll keep you updated on that. Now, I did want to mention 2 deals on Amazon, and then we'll talk about different rumors and more. Now, Apple Watch deals are actually pretty good right now. If you get the smaller sized 7th series or 7th generation Apple Watch, they start at $329 on Amazon. They're actually an Apple store, and I'll leave an affiliate link in the description. If you don't want to contribute there, that does give me a little bit of revenue from you actually buying it from Amazon. If you don't want to do that, you can just search on Amazon yourself. Also, there's AirPods Pro deals still at $179. So if you want to get your hands on AirPods Pro, they're still fairly discounted regularly on Amazon, but sold directly through Apple. So they're definitely worth checking out if you're wanting to pick one up for yourself. Now, iOS 16 is something I talked about yesterday in a video, and Mark Gurman had a little bit more to talk about as far as that goes this past week. He said that it would have an updated lock screen with enhancements and wallpapers that have widget-like capabilities. So whatever that means, we should have lock screen updates with widget-like capabilities. Maybe we'll have a weather widget on there or a music widget with interactions. So on the lock screen, we could see some major updates and hopefully some additional things, such as an always-on display. However, he expects that to be more of an iPhone 14 Pro and Pro Max update, not to 13, even though it could do it. Apple was said to be doing an always-on display for the 13 Pro and 13 Pro Max, so they definitely could add it. It does have a variable refresh rate screen, so it's something they could do, but it'd be very Apple-like for them just to put it on the 14 Pro and 14 Pro Max. He also said to expect iMessage or Messages to get some updates that make it more social network-like as far as functionality goes, and then also to expect some updated apps and new icons. So those are what we're expecting for that, along with improved multitasking and more for the iPad. So maybe we'll see split view on the iPhone. I think there's no reason they shouldn't do it at this point, but if we don't see it there, at least we'll get some sort of update update to the iPad. So there's evidence that it would be a multi-window tasking system similar to what we have on Mac with resizable windows and more. That's expected on the iPad, but not really much more is known about iPadOS 16, so we could have some surprises there. When it comes to watchOS 9, it's said to have some significant improvements as well, such as day-to-day operation and navigation improvements, and then some new watch faces, of course, and a low power mode. So maybe you need to get through the day, your watch is really struggling as far as battery, you would have a low power mode here like you do on your iPhone if you needed it. macOS Mammoth, or macOS 13 Mammoth, is also expected to get some significant improvements with settings, specifically to make it match more of what we have on iOS and iPadOS. So we could see those updates with settings on macOS. It's been a long time since it's been changed there, but there's no additional information about macOS. tvOS is also expected to get some updates for additional home support with maybe some additional functionality or smart home compatibility. So those are things we're looking forward to on tvOS and more. And then, of course, if you haven't heard already, the new Apple AR VR headset is expected maybe to be shown at WWDC, although no one seems to know for sure. But RealityOS is the name of the operating system on that. We know that from different things that have been found online, but the big question is whether or not they'll show it there. And there's a chance they'll show it, but it's not expected to release until late this year or early 2023. However, recent trademarks have been found that show that RealityOS was registered this past December and has a foreign filing deadline of June 8th, just 2 days after WWDC. So we definitely could see it as soon as WWDC as a one more thing. It appears iPhone 14 has been finalized and is entering mass production soon to make millions available for September. Recent renders from Ian Zelbo and John Prosser give us a better overall look at what to expect once it's released, with maybe a new purple color that's been rumored for a while. Although last year it was highly rumored that we would get an orange color, and we saw the Sierra blue, so we don't really know if that's 100% set in stone. The iPhone 14 Pro and Pro Max are still expected to have a hole punch and pill display, but the rest of the phone looks very similar to what we already have, as Apple typically only does major redesigns every 3 years. However, the rear camera array is larger and expected to have a 48 megapixel camera with a larger sensor and 8K video capability. All of those things seem to be locked in. Of course, the iPhone 14 is expected to have the A16 chipset, and it's expected to be a minor upgrade and use similar technology to the A15 Bionic. This doesn't mean it won't be much better, but won't yet use the 3nm technology expected with future iPhones and Macs. That's said to be holding off until maybe the upcoming MacBook Air. Now, initially last week, there were rumors that the iPhone 14 was facing production delays in China due to lockdowns, but later Ming-Chi Kuo, or Kuo Ming-Chi, stated that Apple's shipping times have not changed and that production will be able to catch up in time. We've heard similar stories for the past few years with all of the things going on, but Apple always seems to have iPhone available on time, with a target of 220 million iPhones for 2022. So a huge amount is still expected. According to Mark Gurman, the long-rumored MacBook Air is expected to be shown at WWDC, if we do see any Macs at all. He said it's still expected to have the M2 processor, but the big change would be the overall design. So it would have colors similar to that of the current iMac and maybe some surprises here and there. It may or may not have that white bezel around the display, but it looks like it could have a white keyboard as well. So maybe to differentiate itself and look more similar to the iMac line, where the Pro line would have the darker colors and black keyboard as well. Maybe we'll see that, maybe we won't, but at this point I would expect Apple to show the Mac Pro as they hinted at it in March. So at this point, we're still waiting for the Mac Pro to get a major update, and we could see that at WWDC as well. So that's everything from this past week, and it looks like iOS 16 is actually going to be a very exciting update compared to last year's iOS 15. Let me know what you think, if it's going to be exciting, if you think it won't be as exciting as people are predicting. I think it will, just because we haven't heard a whole lot of information about it. But again, let me know in the comments below. Of course, I'll link this wallpaper in the description like I normally do, and if you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe, and if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.